let's take a look and see what happens after this. As soon as that zygote forms, it starts to undergo rapid mitotic divisions. Remember, mitosis, it means that these cells are going to be genetically identical, and it's going to, 1 leads to 2, 2 leads to 4, 4 leads to 8, right? And that's exactly what's happening here. Is there's the 4-cell stage, there's the 8-cell stage. As you can see, the overall structure is actually going to stay the same. You can see how it's this big here and it's the same size here. What's changing shape are these tiny little cells, these little blastomeres in here. These are going to get smaller as the mitosis is going to occur. It actually doesn't grow in size because in order for it to grow in size, it needs some kind of nourishment, and that's not going to come until implantation occurs, and that's when this can actually start to grow in size. So cleavage is going to occur about 30 hours after this whole process is started, up into about 3 days post-fertilization. It really depends, and it's going to go through it's going to go through day 3 post-fertilization. It happens in the uterine tube. Part of it is going to happen inside of the uterine cavity. We'll take a look at that here in a second. So let's take a look at these stages. So there's the zygote, 2, 4, 8. What comes after 8? 16. This is what this structure is. This is a 16 to 32 cell stage. I've even seen some books say that it goes all the way to 64, and once it hits 64, it turns into the next structure. So this is the little guy that's at the very end in that isthmus of the uterine tube, about to be dumped into the uterus. And it actually is going to be dumped into the uterus. So it enters the lumen of the uterus. And at that time, it starts to, the cavity starts to fill up with fluid. So it starts to develop this cavity, and it's called a blastocyst cavity. You can see it a lot better right here. So as soon as this blastocyst cavity forms, it is going to form this structure called blastocyst. You guys remember that word? I mentioned it earlier. This is that thing that implants into the uterus here. So let's take a look at this blastocyst and look and see what it's actually forming here. So there's the hollow cavity, but it's going to have 2 layers. It is going to have something called the trophoblast. The trophoblast is going to be this outer layer right here. All of this brown cells are going to be the trophoblast. This is going to eventually form the chorion. This is going to help with implantation, and it's going to form the chorion. And then we have something called, the blue portion is called the embryoblast. This can also be called the inner cell mass. Inner cell mass. What this does is it is going to form the actual embryo proper, meaning that it forms that human being, that structure. What is here these are called pluripotent stem cells. Pluripotent stem cells are going to be those wonderful embryonic stem cells that are going to develop into any tissue it desires to develop into. Yeah, genes are going to drive this development, but these are really, really great because they haven't decided what they want to be yet. They can do anything. They haven't committed to anything just yet. That's why these stem cells are so great to use for stem cell research. It's because of the fact that we can do anything with them. I say we like I do anything with them. No, I don't. Sorry. All right, so this is showing that morula, and it's showing how this is what's occurring from day 3 to 4 post-fertilization, and then the blastocyst is going to occur through the rest of the time here. So the morula is going to be the one that actually enters into that that uterus. You can see it right. So there's the morula, and it's showing you where exactly it's going to be. It actually develops here in the uterine cavity, and it's going to dump in there. And then as soon as it hits that, it is going to go into that blastocyst, and you can see that's where we are going to have that implantation occur. Implantation has to occur on the body of the uterus, and it needs to occur kind of on the upper portion here. We'll take a look and see what happens if implantation occurs close to the cervix, how that is going to cause problems specifically with embryonic or placental development. I don't think we talk about those types of placentas, the placenta preva and things like that, but you can look it up and see what happens. But this is just kind of showing you where fertilization is going to occur and the different cleavage stages.